Hello everyone, and I would like to thank you all for coming here and showing your support. I just want to ask you guys a few questions and see where we can come out of this discussion. I would like to ask you all, by show of hands, how many of you would like to make a difference in this world? Pretty much everyone. And I think everyone that is living in this world has a purpose. And with that purpose and that drive that we have inside as human beings, we have a natural attraction to want to make a difference, to leave a legacy, to be known for something, to go beyond the grave. A difference is made by the action of those who desire the difference. Now, how do we make this difference? We have to find a cause. We need to find how we can make this difference. Well, I'm here to tell you about a way that you can make the difference, a cause that is worth standing for. I know many of you heard about this thing about global warming, about the greenhouse effect, and about how this planet is on a daily basis suffering for the different things and the different decisions that we're taking, our actions as human beings in this planet. Going green is taking a stand and saying that I am going to be more environmentally friendly towards this environment because we're using up the resources of this planet, resources that we need to live on a daily basis. Some of the causes that are happening around the world because of our decisions, according to the World Health Organization, they're saying there's approximately 4,000 children that die daily because of contaminated water. And just imagine, that's just based off water, and that's just saying that children are dying off of this. So that's just 4,000 children a day. So imagine if we add in adults, and then we add in the contaminants that we have from soil and from the air. How many more lives are we losing daily because of our decisions that we take on a daily basis? These contaminants are responsible for birth defects, organ failure, death, extinction, endangerment, climate changes, environmental shifts, and the list can go on and on, unless we take a decision. Pollution is a cycle that reaches to the ends of the earth, and it doesn't have any boundaries nor concerns. And the worst thing about this is that us as humans, we do have knowledge of what's going on. We do have a choice. We understand that our actions will have an effect. But yet, how many of us do something about it? And how many of us decide to make a difference? Perhaps knowing how our destruction is circling back towards us, we can create a motivation to take action and become the difference by becoming green. Being green is a movement and a voice that is identifying a problem within this world, and we're going against the destructive action that we're doing by our decisions. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit more about what is the greenhouse. Okay? The greenhouse effect basically is a natural barrier that we have in the planet. It's a barrier that covers the world. And this barrier, basically what it does is it holds in the heat that comes from the sunlight. And it creates better temperatures for the world. And that way, anything that's living inside the earth will be able to grow and live comfortably instead of having cold climates. So you might think then, what is wrong with having the greenhouse effect? Well, yes, there's nothing wrong with it because it's a natural barrier. But when you add in the contaminants that we put into the air, this natural barrier becomes intensified. Therefore, more heat and more sunlight is held inside the earth, rising the temperatures within the earth. So what are some of the causes of these intensified heat? Well, there's something called weather fronts. And many of you probably have heard this word when you watch the news and you're trying to find out what's the weather going to be like. And they talk about weather fronts. Well, weather fronts is basically that barrier where cold air meets up with hot air. Now, this barrier can become intensified if the heat that is touching the cold air is a lot more than what it is usually. And what this can create is hurricanes, storms, and tornadoes. And with this added intensified reaction in the weather front, then that creates intensified hurricanes, storms, and tornadoes. Something that is natural But what is unnatural is the added climate that we're creating in this world. And this is all based off the contaminants that we ourselves are deciding to put in this earth. And this is just going off climate changes. Now, when we talk about other changes and other kinds of things that are happening in the soil and in the water, well, then we're talking about added effects that are going to happen in the world. Another effect that is going on is the polar ice caps. They're shrinking. What this means is because of this added heat, these caps are melting. Icebergs are melting. And when you have a cup of water and you put ice in there and the ice starts to melt, it rises up the level of water. Just think of the world being that cup. And all of this ice that is melting is the ice caps and the glaciers that are melting. That means there's going to be a rise of sea levels across the globe. For certain places that have 6 feet, they're within 6 feet of the sea level, those places are going to be affected first and more severely. Now, maybe this is not an issue. Maybe certain sectors get covered with water. But what happens when you multiply that across the globe with all of these places that have the same type of height level with the sea and they're getting covered? How many people are going to be looking for refuge? We're not talking about just simply hundreds or thousands. We're talking about millions. And where we're going to put these people when their homes are filled with water and they're flooded? This will cause global catastrophe. Might not seem so big right now, but when the time comes, and a lot of people are predicting this, this will happen very soon. What are we going to do at that time? What can we say that we had done before that could have prevented this? And this is just naming just a few factors of what contaminants, what type of things are happening with the waste that we're producing on a constant basis. Now that we know what's going on and how we are causing these problems in the world, how can we find a solution or at least reduce what we're doing? Well, there is a system called the 3 R's of the environment. The first one is reducing. The second one is to reuse. The third one is recycling. The first R is reducing. Basically what this is reducing the waste that we produce. And that way we can alter the effects on the environment. Now how can we do this? Well, when we go shopping at the store, we can start taking a decision of the products that we're buying. What is needed? This might seem a little hard because we're living in a time where we live in abundance. But sometimes we have to think further than what our wants are and more towards our needs. When we look at a product, we need to start analyzing not only our personal views of cost, but we also need to start thinking about our future. Not just our future, but our children's future and the generations that are to come. What am I buying that is going to cause a delay or some type of catastrophe? Maybe that might seem extreme, but at the same time, you're not the only one taking these type of decisions. Multiply yourself by millions of people across the world taking these same decisions. So you can say, yes, it's a catastrophe for one simple decision. We can start looking at the product and seeing how much packaging does it have? Does it really need all that packaging? Can I do something else with that packaging? Can I reuse it? That's part of the second R. Can I recycle it? That's part of the third R. What can I do that makes this product functional in many more ways than just what is manufactured? This is putting the mindset of avoiding to throw away things later. We're trying to reduce the amount of waste that we have in this world. These landfills are piling up. And yes, there's many that say, oh, but we have plenty of land. We can use more land for more landfills. But what's the point? What about the landfills that we have now? What are we going to do with the waste that we have now? There are many environmentalists that are trying to find solutions for things that cannot biodegrade quickly. These things, like styrofoam, takes about 400 to 500 years just to biodegrade. And there's other things that can't even biodegrade. There's things like plastic that will stay there forever. What are we going to do with all of this trash? Would you want trash to be piling up inside your home, and you know that there's no way for you to stop it, for you to clean this out? Would you want to live there? I don't think so. So this world is just like our home, and we must treat it that way. That's why Going Green is taking that stand to say, I do care. I am going to make a difference. I am going to make a change. Also, the second R, again, let's go back to it, reuse. We're reusing these materials in different ways, more than what their purpose was for in the first place. Giving examples of what we can do with other things is glass jars. We might have a jar of jelly that comes in glass. We can go ahead and reuse, once we're done with that product, reuse it to store other foods. We can use reusable containers instead of paper bags. We can do different things on a constant basis that will change the decisions of the future. Recycling should be the last step of your decisions, because recycling is cost effective for businesses, for governments, and even for yourself. But it should be the last resort, because although it is reducing the amount of energy to produce new products, it is still using up energy. So it is better to reuse something in a different way than going ahead and just recycling it first. So that's why that should be the last step. If you implement these 3 R's into your daily life, you are taking a stand to make a difference in the future. And why do we need to take a stand to make a future, to make a difference in our future? Because it is our moral duty to do so. And even if you don't believe that global warming is something that is serious or something that it will happen, can you really take the plunge in saying, I'm not going to do anything because I really don't believe it? I don't really think that global warming is going to happen. Are you ready to take on the consequences if it does happen and you were wrong in your decision? There are people that are saying that I'm not going to take a stand because I don't believe global warming is going to happen. Even with statistics or proof or any type of thing, it's not going to convince me, which is fine. You're entitled to your own opinion and to your own decisions. But ask yourself, am I willing to risk it? Because the outcome of risking this could be a lot more than what you expected. This could mean global catastrophes, extinction, just across the board, just destructions everywhere. People in panic. This affects you in every way. And that could be just me exaggerating. But what if it's not? So I encourage you to try to outweigh the decisions that you take each day and making the difference. Because the difference is what you want it to be. If you decide to make the difference, then stand up for the difference. Because our ambitions as human beings have taken us far, but they also have cost us a lot. And if you're not willing to pay that, then make the value of human existence matter for all living things. Because this is our planet that we call